This week we're exploring the town of Goshen. Located in the northwestern half of Hampshire County, it is a small hill town with a population of 960 people. What can Goshen tell us about its place in Western Mass? And what is there to do for travelers or for campers? I'm Gus, and let's see what's along the way. The area we call Goshen today was first settled around 1761 along with Chesterfield in 1760 as part of what was at the time called the Narragansett Grants. These grants were initially given to members of the armed forces who had participated in recent wars such as King Philip's War in 1675, but the process of surveying and distributing parcels took many years. On May 23, 1739, a land lottery was held in Hatfield, with many participants being land speculators or relatives of former veterans, as very few original settlers remained at this time. Around 1755, settlement was attempted, but due to the French and Indian War, the settlement was abandoned. The area of Chesterfield and Goshen are thought to have been a fishing and hunting areas for the Nonotucs, or the Pocumtucks, due to their proximity and tools that have been found. By the 1760s, the areas of both Chesterfield and Goshen were settled again, with Chesterfield gaining enough population to be established in Hampshire County in 1762, annexing the area of Goshen during its incorporation. This was not ideal, as Chesterfield wanted to keep their meeting house close to their core, which was a long distance for the residents of Goshen. During this period, Goshen continued to want independence, and in 1781, Goshen's wishes were finally granted, separating it from Chesterfield and joining Hampshire County. Goshen contains two prominent rivers, the West Branch of the Mill River and the Swift River. Chesterfield has two prominent rivers of its own, the Dead Branch River and the Westfield River. These rivers provide the power needed to maintain mills and machinery that helped these settlements during their earlier years. Goshen is crossed by two major routes, Massachusetts Route 9 and Massachusetts Route 112. While just one route, Massachusetts Route 143, crosses Chesterfield. In this area, Route 9 is based on an old native trail that was slowly transformed into the road that we see today, bearing the name Berkshire Trail in the area. Route 143 and 112 have a similar origin, with Route 143 previously being the third Massachusetts Turnpike in the 19th century. There are no rail lines in either Goshen or Chesterfield, with the closest station being in Williamsburg. Talks over the extension of the line never materialized, but many passengers, with the aid of carriages, still use the station as a means to get to Northampton and beyond. By the 1800s, Goshen was developing into an agrarian community, with many areas cleared from trees and rocks to allow for grazing or sowing. The same can be said for Chesterfield, but its economy was more diverse, as it began to have many small mills dotted around the Dead Branch and Westfield rivers. These allowed for the production of grist and lumber. Some mills, such as the Bisbee Mill, filled other niches. With beginnings as a saw and grist mill, Bisbee later provided wheels and other parts for passing carriages, and filled other needs for the community, to the point of also having a small blacksmith shop in the attic. While in Goshen, the agricultural expansion, even with the occasional failures and unideal soil conditions, remained vibrant. The need of clearing land for agriculture also yielded lumber and stone, which in turn created its own spin-off industries in Goshen. These products not only benefited the locals but also the region, with many lumber exports being transported to Williamsburg to be either used there by the local mills or loaded at the train station for further transport in the network. These industries and Goshen's location, about 1,000 feet higher than downtown Williamsburg and just 5 miles away, made it a perfect carriage rest stop, with inns forming such as the first incarnation of the Highland Hotel in 1850. Even with this development though, Goshen was still a small town, as in the 1850 census, Goshen had a population of just 512 people, which would keep decreasing as the century continued. The creation of the upper and lower highland reservoirs out of swampland in the 1870s not only benefited the mills at Williamsburg, but also provided the seeds for a future economy in Goshen. During this period, Goshen still remained mostly agrarian, with Goshen's main products being apples, blueberries, beef, milk, and more, while also having a small production of buttons, brush handles, and stone. By the 1880s, new developments came to Goshen. These include a telephone line, most likely at the Highland Hotel, a public library located at the town hall, and a sudden interest in Goshen's western area, after deposits of spodumene, a mineral source of lithium, were discovered. This spurred a campaign to entice investors to the area, resulting in the name change of the post office to Lithia in 1898. It would seem as the century came to a close, new avenues for Goshen's success were just opening. The 20th century formalized many of the attributes that we see in Goshen today. The rapid rise of electrification made it difficult for the many small mills in Goshen and Chesterfield to compete with their neighbors, with many of them, including the Bisbee mill in Chesterfield, having to cut back on operations or close entirely. In Goshen, this meant that their main exports were now crops, dairy, and lumber. These industries have remained prominent even to this day, but one more will soon be added to the list as the century progressed. In 1902, a group of Christian missionaries established a mountain rest resort for their summer retreats in Lithia, while also at the same time, the Camp Holy Cross was also established on the western side of the Upper Highland Reservoir. These establishments provided a preview of what would come to Goshen. By 1911, Goshen's new town hall and library was constructed, and around 1918, after some tests done by the state, Route 9 was hard surfaced, opening the gates for Goshen's new seasonal economy. Though many of the mills in the area had shuttered, the reservoirs built for their mechanical power still remain, as did their maintenance needs. This situation could pose risk not only to the seasonal visitors of Goshen, but also its residents. In 1929, the Daughters of the Revolution, a lineage-based service organization, was in the possession of around 1,000 acres in the eastern section of the Upper Highland Reservoir. They donated this land to the state for the purposes of wildlife conservation, forming the D.A.R. State Forest. Not much was initially done with the land, but once depression hit, the CCC arrived to Goshen in 1933, providing many jobs to the local residents and neighboring towns. By 1935, the situation with the reservoirs had continued to deteriorate, and after some misguided actions from the Hampshire Dam Company, the state seized the land that both reservoirs lied in. This allowed the CCC to not only extend the construction of recreation areas, but to also rebuild safer dams and other infrastructure. That same year, Camp Howe, a 4-H camp, moved to Goshen, on the eastern side of the Upper Highland Reservoir, after plans of the dissolution of Dana, Massachusetts to make way for the Quabbin Reservoir were taken into effect. Camp Howe provided another place for many individuals and families to spend their summer, escaping the busy life of larger cities. The following year, the CCC left Goshen for good, but their impact can still be seen and enjoyed to this day. The post-war period was a defining moment for Goshen. Due to the large-scale mechanization of the farming industry and trade, farming in Goshen wasn't as profitable anymore. And due to the quick increase of air travel, many motor inns in the area also had to close, causing a large shrink in the land usage, which was then reclaimed by nature, creating many patches of second-growth forest. Due to these changes, many residents of Goshen moved away for newer or higher paying jobs, while also receiving an influx of commuter residents. This influx continued all the way through the end of the century, changing Goshen's makeup into a bedroom community. The speculation of lithium deposits in Lithia never came into fruition, with the post office closing at some point after the 80s, leaving only the naming maps and references of an industry that never materialized. In the year 2000, Goshen reached a population of 921 people, who mostly commute out of town for work, with a small portion working in agriculture, retail, or in construction, and it will only take 10 more years for Goshen to reach its record population yet, as in the 2010 census, Goshen reached a population of 1,000 54 people. Surprisingly though, the 2020 census showed a decrease of 8.9%, decreasing Goshen's population back to 960 people, with 2022 estimates being even lower. Goshen, like Chesterfield, might seem like quiet little towns with not a lot of activity. Though many will agree with that statement, many could also see the natural awe and beauty that Goshen and Chesterfield can inspire. Today, the D.A.R. State Forest encompasses 1,728 acres with many facilities for camping, boating, and around 15 miles of mixed-use trails. There, atop of Moore Hill, lies the Goshen Fire Tower, which provides astonishing views of the valley, with even parts of the UMass Amherst campus visible during the right conditions in the horizon. These lands, which serve as an area of hunting and foraging, grazing, farming, and housing, now have been reclaimed, protected for the enjoyment of all. And like all hill towns, Goshen has some secrets of its own, including the Counterfeiter Cave, a peculiar underground structure now located near the cemetery and some private property. The cave is made out of a stone vertical shaft dropping 17 feet into an about 150-foot long tunnel, collapsed on both ends, the longer end pointing towards the hills. Its existence has been known since the early formation of Goshen, and many rumors and stories have been told of said cave, but no concrete evidence of its purpose or creators are known to this day. What we know is that this cave is made of locally found stone, and that it seems that it used to be much bigger than what we see today. Many rumors include the usage of the cave for counterfeiting, storing crops during raids, or a hideout for native tribes. That last example has been documented in other parts of Massachusetts, but its location and position seems doubtful, and will likely remain as an unsolved mystery of Goshen's history. While next door in Chesterfield lies a feature that gives us a live look at the ever-changing world that we inhabit. After the last glacial maximum, around 20,000 years ago, the glacier's erosion and pressure carved and formed ridges in the area. This formed the many geographic aspects of New England and northern North America. In Chesterfield, this constant erosion led to the formation of the Chesterfield Gorge. After the confluence of the west branch of the Westfield River and the Swift River, the Westfield River winds aggressively as it heads south towards Westfield, ultimately draining into the Connecticut River. This aggressive winding plus time has slowly eroded and exposed the bedrock. The turbulent waters, thanks to the irregular geography, has allowed for the uneven and wave-like erosion seen at the walls of the gorge, with many potholes at different stages of development. Sediments can get caught in the current and be brought into a whirlpool, which rubs and erodes the rock in a circular fashion, creating many of these potholes around the gorge. The Westfield River's forces in this area remain mostly untamed. Many in the early history attempted with the construction of mills and a bridge that carried the old Boston-Albany Post Road. This lasted until 1835, when floodwaters struck the area, destroying the bridge and carrying the mills with it. Today, only the bridge abutments are left, while the Natural Preserve is maintained by the Trustees of Reservations, a Massachusetts-based nonprofit group first founded in 1891. These towns, though small, have many stories and wonders that many passerbys might miss, but the attentive ones have encountered a wealth of pristine forests carved by thousands of years of erosion and natural forces. The ones who hold this place, though small in numbers, keep up the traditions of their founders, while the newcomers are welcome to a land of history and recreation. As for them, though never resided, many have lived a summer, a winter, in these quiet hills that make up Goshen and Chesterfield. So what do you guys think? Do you live in Goshen or have ever visited? What I found enjoyable while researching Chesterfield and Goshen is that even though they're small towns compared to others that we've seen, they contain a wealth of history and aspects that many other towns would dream of. Well, that's all I got for you today. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.